The 26 Karmic Tales of the Matrix of Destiny. The Matrix of Destiny originates from the karma of previous incarnations and reveals the unresolved tasks from past lives, as well as the karmic lessons we will encounter in this lifetime. There are 26 codes. By examining these codes, you can identify the karmic lesson you've carried into your current life and explore examples to transform it into a positive one or find a way out. If you want to see where your karmic tail is, it is in the marked section. 15.5.8. In your past or current life, you may have been someone who focused on addictions and restrictive relationships in your past or current life. You might have exhibited physical aggression, bullying the weak and causing harm. You may have struggled with alcohol or drug addiction. You could have acted unfaithfully within family or relationships. It's possible that you were influenced by others and found it difficult to exercise your own will. You may have lost your inner freedom. You might have used people for personal gain. You could have committed fraud or deceit. There may have been times when you didn't obey the law. You might have imposed authoritarian pressure on your family. Your actions may have caused your family to suffer. 15.5.8. Suggestions for turning it into a positive. By trusting your inner voice and values, you can learn to make your own decisions and act independently of others' influence. You can try to avoid restrictive relationships and set healthy boundaries in relationships to stay away from dependencies. In your interactions with others, you can prioritize mutual respect. Strive to avoid physical or emotional aggression. Work on avoiding causing harm to others. By enhancing your empathy, you can try to understand others' emotions and offer support. You may choose to stay away from negative habits such as alcohol and drug addiction. Adopt a healthy lifestyle. Engage in healthy activities like meditation, exercise, or hobbies to maintain your mental and emotional well-being. Be mindful of staying loyal in family and relationships. Strive for honest and open communication. Make an effort to fulfill your responsibilities towards those you are committed to. Consider the consequences of your actions and integrate a sense of justice and honesty into your life. Try to prioritize others' needs instead of focusing solely on your own interests. Respect the laws and adhere to social rules by being mindful of legal responsibilities. Participate in social responsibility projects to contribute positively to society. In your relationships with family members, display supportive and loving behavior, avoiding authoritarian tendencies. Strive for open and healthy communication with family members to prevent causing them pain. Continuously work on self-improvement through spiritual and emotional growth practices. To find inner peace and freedom, you may consider reading personal development books or attending courses. 18.6.15 Karmic Tail. In your past or current life, you may have used your abilities to harm others. You might have been involved in dark matters. You may have engaged in negative practices such as negative witchcraft. You could have influenced people's affairs and destinies. You may have seduced others. You might have exhibited immoral behaviors. You may have consistently betrayed your partners. You could have shown interest in forbidden things. You may have struggled with alcohol or drug addiction. You might have manipulated others. 18.6.15 Karmic Tail. Suggestions for turning it into a positive. Instead of using your personal abilities to harm others, you can apply them to benefit society and those around you. You can utilize your knowledge, skills, and talents for the greater good of others. Rather than being drawn to dark and mysterious subjects, you can adopt an open and positive lifestyle. You might try to stay away from negative practices such as negative witchcraft, seeking to keep yourself spiritually and energetically clean. Baskalarin and Ilarin vea Kaderlarin Mudahale et Mek Yaren. Onlaren kendi sesimlerini yapmalarına izin verebilirsiniz. You can avoid meddling in other people's lives. You may choose to refrain from seducing others and engaging in immoral behaviors. By establishing honest and respectful relationships, you can build connections based on solid foundations. By staying loyal to your partners, you can be a trustworthy partner. Avoiding deceit and infidelity, you can prioritize trust and commitment in your relationships. You might try to steer clear of forbidden or socially unacceptable behaviors. You can avoid alcohol and drug addiction. You may choose to refrain from manipulating others. Fostering healthy and constructive relationships through sincere communication. Make an effort to understand the consequences of your actions and take responsibility for them. 21. 7. 13 Karmic Tail. In your past or current life, you may have exhibited destructive behaviors. You might have harmed yourself and others. You may have killed others for pleasure. You could have been oppressive and coercive towards the people around you. In your pursuit of success, you may have neglected or put others in difficult situations. Your addictions or obsessions might have caused harm to others. You could have been involved in rebellions. You may have been a ruthless warrior. You might have rejected the laws of conscience. You may have faced sudden, uncertain, and premature death. 21. 7. 13 Karmic Tail. Suggestions for turning it into a positive. You can try to respect others' opinions and decisions. You may work on letting go of the old and embracing the new. You can strive to be flexible. You might seek a deeper spiritual meaning in your life. You can aim to serve the community. Strive to be charitable. You may choose professions related to saving human lives. Support your loved ones. You can work on being compassionate. Try to avoid disturbing others. You may experience traveling to explore different aspects of the world. 614. 8 Karmic Tail. In your past or current life, you may have experienced indecisiveness in your love life. You might have struggled to achieve emotional balance and perhaps resorted to extremes. There may have been instances of infidelity in relationships. You could have exhibited judgmental attitudes towards others. You may have unjustly criticized people. You might have grown up in an emotionally numb environment. You could have been a ruthless authoritarian. You may have borrowed money without repaying it. Your obsession with material wealth may have prevented you from using your talents effectively. You might have struggled with alcohol addiction. You may have coordinated war efforts or served as a general. 614. 8 Karmic Tail. Suggestions for turning it into a positive. You can try to pay attention to the balance of give and take. You may work on adhering to rules and regulations. Strive to make official payments, such as taxes, on time. You might aim to establish a balance between your spiritual and material lives. If the people around you are using alcohol, you may find yourself looking down on or judging them. However, you can try to respect their decisions. When faced with undesirable outcomes, try not to blame others. In your relationships, you can strive to show more positive feelings towards your partners. You might work on trusting the divine. Instead of choosing a boring and ordinary life, try to opt for a life where you can grow and develop. You may consider creating or working for an innovative company that improves people's lives. 6-8-20 Karmic Tail. In your past or current life, you may have betrayed your family or loved ones. You might have severed your connections with your family. You could have excluded your family or been excluded from it. You may have left your family for love. You might have engaged in behaviors that brought shame to your family. You could have put your family in financial or emotional distress. You may have disrupted a business or situation maintained by your roots. You might have been an unwanted child. You could have been raised by individuals who are not your immediate family members. 6820 Karmic Tail. Suggestions for turning it into a positive. You can try to be kinder to your parents or relatives. Strive to live a life free from violence. Work on being respectful towards yourself and your family. Try to recognize that you are deserving of love. You may consider helping your family and relatives. You can gain recognition for your work and talents. Aim to protect the legacies inherited from others. Consider taking care of your child yourself or dedicating more time to them. Whether your child is healthy or has a physical disability, try to show them affection. Work on accepting your roots. You may encounter financial difficulties and try to trust yourself to rectify them. Avoid resorting to activities like gambling to make easy money. You can elevate your family's reputation. 1216-4 Karmic Tail. In your past or current life, you may have caused pain to those beneath you. The people under you might have become victims of oppression. You may not have used your power correctly. You could have been a despot. You may have turned the lives of your loved ones into a nightmare. You might not have shown respect to others. You may have refused to help people in need. You might have exhibited stingy behaviors. You may have contemplated suicide. Sometimes, the opposite of the above statements can describe a very passive life. You may have remained passive, failing to recognize the power and abilities given to you, and as a result, harmed your loved ones through your inertia. 1216-4 Karmic Tail. Suggestions for turning it into a positive. If you are experiencing issues with your father, you can try to forgive him. If you have a child, you may strive to give them unconditional love. You can try to support your child. By recognizing your power, you might aim to use it with compassion and understanding. If you have experienced a lack of love from your father due to separation or death, you can try not to project aggression onto others because of his absence. You might work on being conciliatory. Try to respect others. Make an effort to be responsible. Aim to lead with love and trust. You can strive to manage your financial resources wisely. In issues related to the opposite sex, try to adopt a more solution-focused approach. 912-3 Karmic Tail. In your past or current life, you may have lost a loved one. The person you love might have gone to war or a distant place, and you haven't heard from them. The person you love may have avoided taking responsibility in the relationship and distanced themselves. You might have waited a long time for news from your loved one. You could have grieved due to not receiving news from your beloved. Your family or relatives may not have approved of your relationship, leaving it incomplete. You might have been left without warning in your relationship. Just as your relationship was about to become official, you may have experienced a breakup. You could have faced unexpected betrayal in the relationship and not received any news. You may have experienced the loss of a child. You might have desired to have children but were unable to conceive. As a child, you may have lost your mother and felt unloved and alone. You might have been involved with someone who was already married, suffering in the relationship. 912-3 Karmic Tail. Suggestions for turning it into a positive. You can strive to avoid getting involved with married individuals. Try to stay away from loveless marriages. You may work on reopening your heart to love. Attempt to leave behind any negative experiences from the past. You can try to trust people. Work on learning to love yourself. Aim to move away from feelings of worthlessness. Try to support women and children. If you are having issues with your mother, make an effort to understand each other. If you have experienced trauma, consider seeking support from a qualified psychologist. 617-11 Karmic Tail. In your past or current life, you may have worked in standard jobs instead of developing your talents. You might have been unwilling to step out of your comfort zone. You may have feared taking risks. The expectation of a stable income from your family might have hindered you from realizing your dreams. Your parents may not have provided opportunities for you to discover your talents as a child. While trying to discover your talents, you may have felt a sense of failure and not pursued them further. You might have chosen the practical path and not focused on your abilities. You may have given up on your talents because they did not satisfy you. Due to societal pressure, you might have been unable to showcase your talents to those around you. You may have struggled to cope with your abilities. You might have given up because you couldn't withstand criticism regarding your talent. Fear of failure and perfectionism may have prevented you from using your abilities. 6-17-11 Karmic Tail. Suggestions for turning it into a positive. You may find yourself in jobs that require creativity. Not being afraid to experiment can be beneficial for you. You could participate in projects that require public speaking. Try to express yourself better. It may be helpful not to feel guilty about taking time for your hobbies. Work on understanding what inspires you. Try not to fear presenting new ideas and breaking away from the norm. Make an effort not to be afraid of success. You might gravitate toward spiritual practices. Consider stepping out of your comfort zone. Try to embrace the challenges life presents. Aim not to fear the obstacles that come your way. Focus on your talents and avoid getting discouraged by criticism.